Hey, it's Jim from sepasportscards. Here with Brian. How you doing, Brian?
Good. How's it going?
Good, good. So we were talking about what would be, what got you started, or us started, I should say, in the hobby. What was the first kind of cards that you bought or collected, and what was your first big card, I guess, that you ever got? What do you think? You
All
want to go
right.
first on that?
Yeah, I pulled out some cards from my collection that I had like pretty much since the beginning. And none of these cards are like super high value or anything like that, but they mean something to me because I remember pulling them from packs when I was a kid, and then some of these cards were ones that my dad gave me. So they have sentimental value to me, but not a whole lot of monetary value.
Yeah, so what was the first set, or I guess sport as well?
Okay, so I was big into football, I would say primarily when I was a kid. I bought a lot of football cards, and the first actual box of cards that I got them as a gift for Christmas, and my grandmother bought me a box of 1992 Fleer football cards, and probably a lot of you, this was kind of a big set back in the day. It was like one of the first football sets, I believe, that had like the white card stock. And this was probably my favorite card that I pulled out of there. I just thought it was a really cool looking card, the Barry Sanders card from '92 Fleer. Um, and I remember like on the playground, my friends and I used to trade cards, and this was kind of like an untouchable card. I still have it, and kids would offer me all kinds of stuff to try to get this card, and I still held on to it. I didn't trade it.
It's well centered too. Not bad.
Yeah.
And so what? So your grandmother got you it as a gift. That's pretty much how you got started.
Yep, Christmas. And then the next set I'm going to show is also was also a Christmas gift, like the following Christmas.
Mhm.
So she got me like a wax box of cards 2 years in a row because that was what I was asking for. That was like what I was kind of transitioning out of like toys into baseball cards were my big thing.
Right, right. Um, for me, I got started in school, second grade. So we're talking 1989, which shows my age. And kids were trading football cards at the time at lunch. So I said, eventually I said to my parents, I'd really like some cards. And I think I may have had some, nothing that that I recall. If I had baseball cards, it wasn't like anything that I took care of or had like from being even younger than that. But that's when I got into them. Like, and I remember I had wrestled my whole life, right? So that was the first year that I started wrestling. So I would go to wrestling practice. My dad would bring me, and then on the way back home, there is a kind of like a general store on a farm that we pass by because I'm in a Philly suburb, right? And and they had 1989 Tops football, and I started buying packs. And I think this was I know that this was, I had a Randall Cunningham that I pulled out. This is not the exact card. I don't even know what happened to that one, unfortunately, but I had to have a version of it. So I am kind of partial to the set. I like the set a lot. Um, I know that I pulled like a Michael Irvin rookie before out of that, but I remember at the time Randall Cunningham was obviously one of the superstars in the NFL, and kids really they were trying to trade me for that um, at lunchtime. I didn't trade it though.
Was there a Barry Sanders rookie in that set too, or is that the traded?
The traded, yeah, he's in the
Yeah.
traded,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and since then I'd go to practice and I get a pack and stuff like that. So that got me into it. Um, and yeah, and ever since then, it expanded because my parents always went to like yard sales and flea markets and stuff. So when you're a young kid and you're walking around a flea market, I mean, maybe you see some toys, maybe candy, but the only other thing,
Yeah.
if you're doing it all the time, and your parents don't want to, buy you candy or something, then um, then you're gonna end up looking for something to do as a hobby, and that's just like I expanded collecting even more, and I actually got exposed. Like there's like back then, it was you'd have to go to a card store, right? There was no eBay. Wasn't really there wasn't an internet. So if you wanted to see a card, you might see the price guide, right? You might see a Joe Montana rookie, but it was sort of rare to see one in person, especially for a kid, right?
Yep. I have a quick story about that. One of the things that my dad and I bonded over was flea markets a little bit, but we did a lot of like yard sailing. And when I would go to a yard sale and I would see like a box of cards, it was like immediately excitement,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one time we stopped by this yard sale and they had it was like larger than a shoebox, and the cards were just thrown in there. They weren't even stacked nicely in order. They were like all mixed up and a lot of corners dinged and stuff like that. But I bought the box because right on the top I saw there were some like early 80s football. And I did pull a dinged up Montana out of that. There was a dinged up Montana. There was a Marino in there, rookie card, and it actually was in pretty good shape, but it was way off center stuff. So those were cards that also have like good sentimental value to me because they are higher value cards, but that was like the first really big find that I was able to get from like a yard sale of like good rookie cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say that I ever pulled or found anything great at a yard sale. I
Yeah.
have stories about some. I'll do a video sometime on, you know, I think at the one auction, it's a pretty big auction house. I was the youngest bidder ever, um, that I know of. At least at the time, it certainly was. And I've had some good finds at flea markets and stuff like that, and obviously online. But but yeah, that's how about your hit? You start buying packs. I 89 tops is the first packs I ever bought, but that obviously I'm not getting like a huge hit out of that. How about you? Your first hit?
Best hit out of a pack like early on.
Mm-hmm.
I remember buying 93 tops baseball and getting the Jeter rookie out of that. That was 93, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Out of a pack. That was probably the best card I pulled out of a pack early on. Because that was
Okay.
when I first started buying packs, was like 90, probably like 93, 94. But 96 was when I got really into Jeter and the Yankees because my dad took me to a Yankees game in 96, which was like the first year that they won the World Series in that run. But yeah, pulling the Jeter rookie card was like pretty exciting.
Right. Um, what, so it was actually because he was pretty good at the time.
Yeah.
What was it? But the market was different. What was it, like a $5, $10 card? Probably 10. It went
Yeah,
up
I
to
don't think
probably
it was that
20.
valuable, but like once they won a couple World Series in a row, it got pretty valuable.
Yeah, yeah. For me, there was a card store that kids would talk about going to, and I never my parents didn't take me to any at the time, and I guess we passed it eventually. I told my, can you take me? And I don't know, like my dad did not collect cards, so it was hard to convince him to give me or loan me the money. But he took me to the card store, and I'm looking around all these things, like that's when I got to see what a Montana rookie card looked like, and that was the card, right? If you collect football, the Montana rookie card was the card. I realize a lot of people um, like Walter Payton, but he was retired, so they like our age, it was we knew who he was and everything, but the
Mm-hmm.
Montana, you know, 4 Super Bowls at the time, and um, that was the one. And then you saw it, and you're like, "Wow, that's awesome!"
Definitely.
And at the card store there, my dad said I could buy any pack, and I've always liked, believe it or not, I know this isn't a popular one, but 1990 Action Pack. So I had a friend
Yeah,
who,
those were cool.
yeah, because they were gold. They weren't flat. Obviously that's the name, hence the name Action Pack. They weren't flat. Just a gold border, even though it was plain, it really stuck out because I don't know, especially to a kid, gold, I guess. And I love them. And a friend of mine's dad collected. He supposedly had a bunch of them. Um, at the time, I remember going to his house and seeing some of those, and just wanting some of the packs weren't cheap for then. I know that they were a few dollars. I don't remember the exact price, but I know that they were a few dollars. And in 1989, 1990, that was expensive for a pack, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so I my dad let me buy one pack, and I chose 1990 Action Packed, and I pulled the Emmitt Smith rookie card, and this is actually the rookie card, the exact one that I
The one that
pulled.
you pulled.
Now you
What
can see
what
that
did
I want.
it grade? I can't actually see the grade. What is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I apologize for the lighting in this video. I'm going to correct that, but can you see
Is
that
that
now?
it's an 8?
That's an 8. Yep.
Okay. That's pretty good for a card that you pulled out of a pack way back when and kept it through your childhood and stuff. That's a good
Yeah,
grade.
it's so yeah, it's not by any means in great shape, but and honestly, I'm an Eagles fan, so I don't like the Cowboys, but I've always liked this card since. So I've owned a
Yeah.
few versions of it, um, like a True Gem Mint BGS 95. I've owned like two of those. I don't anymore. I own a few BGS 9s. I've owned a couple PSA 9s, which I sold when the market topped. Um, but I've always liked that card. I thought it was awesome. And honestly, in that update set, Cunningham's in that too. It's just my favorite player, so that's pretty cool. Um, but that's mine. Anything else to add to it?
I have one other card I'm going to show. This was probably the first. My dad gave me a small box of cards. It actually wasn't even a box of cards, just a small stack of cards from the early 80s. So I don't even know how he accumulated these cards, but I think he just had them kind of sitting on his on the top of his like sock drawer or something like that. And he said, "Here you go. Like you're into cards. Here's some cards that I have." Right. And this was one of the cards out there. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's dinged up and the corners are kind of round and it's a little bit kind of yellowy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a card that I've had all those years. And it was like my first, kind of Phillies card. And it's Mike Schmidt, all-time great Philly.
Yep.
So this is a card that'll always have sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
Even though it's again not in great condition, and 81 Fleer, not like a set that's it's the first year Fleer, I think, right? But not like an in-demand set or anything like that, but still a cool card that has some sentimental value to me.
Yeah, I think that's cool. The only thing I'll add, because I know we were saying about keeping this one short, but is the first set my parents bought me, and I know I told you this recently. It was kind of was at a flea market, and it was that same year, and it was 1990 Pro Set football. So not the most appealing set, right? It obviously had Emmitt Smith in there, which if it's in a high grade because of the coloring and stuff for the edges and the borders and the corners, it's harder to get. But that was they bought me that, and I think they bought me a 1990 Fleer football, which again is not a very coveted set at the time as well, which is actually kind of cool looking though, that 1990 Fleer. You know, with the football type shape at the bottom. Um, you know. Anyway, anything to add?
No, I mean, like as far as sets, the first set I ever had, the only thing I might add to that is like I was never a big set collector. I know like sometimes you would go, people would show you their collection and be like, look at all these box sets I have. I was never really into box sets. Anytime I ever got one, I always broke it up. I would break
Yeah.
the set like immediately and take out all the good cards.
Yeah.
And the
Me
first one
too.
I remember was that I had the 1990 Topps baseball, and I broke that set up immediately because the Frank Thomas card is cool.
Mhm.
The it's got the Griffey Gold Cup card. I pulled that right out, and I was just like, all these other cards are junk.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
could back in the day, you could buy that set for real cheap, and I just pulled the cool cards out and put them in my box with my cool cards.
Yeah. I did the same thing. And for me, it was I pulled that Emmett out, and I think I had bought like when he was approaching the rushing record. I was ready to go, like to flip. I didn't have 100 of them, but I had a ton of them, and I remember I sold them in a lot, and I probably threw that in there with it. Unfortunately, you're not thinking ahead. At least I guess I wasn't at the time, other than this action-packed one about keeping that. But all right, sounds good. Hey, please like and subscribe if you like the content. We'll keep it up. We'll keep coming. And thanks for jumping on, Rambo. And
Yep, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
till next time.
Take care, everybody.